The subway was half empty when Daniel stepped inside with his delivery bag. He was tired from running orders all day, but something strange caught his eyes on the floor near the corner. At first, it looked like a toy someone's child had dropped. It glowed faint blue and hummed like a small machine. Daniel bent down and picked it up, not knowing this single act would pull him into something far bigger than he could ever imagine. He turned the object in his hand. It was shaped like a tiny alien figure, its eyes lit with soft light. Daniel smiled, thinking it was some kind of new tech toy. A woman with striking blue skin, sitting across from him, suddenly looked at him with wide eyes. She whispered something in a language he did not know, her voice trembling. Daniel felt a chill run down his spine, because her reaction was not of amusement, but of fear and respect. The woman's child tugged at her sleeve, pointing at the glowing toy. Other passengers began to shift nervously. Daniel realized people weren't looking at him anymore. They were staring at the object in his hand. The subway train rumbled forward, but an uncomfortable silence filled the air. Then the woman stood up, her silver suit reflecting the neon lights. She approached him slowly, as if approaching a king or a dangerous weapon. Her words were broken, but Daniel understood one thing clearly: that is not toy. That is key. Daniel blinked in confusion. He wanted to laugh, but the seriousness in her eyes stopped him. Before he could reply, the subway windows flashed red. Outside, drones swarmed the sky, their engines roaring. Holographic warnings lit up, showing signs of emergency. The blue-skinned woman grabbed her child and pulled Daniel to the floor. An explosion shook the tunnel as something powerful struck above them. The train lights flickered. People screamed. Daniel's heart raced, and he clutched the glowing alien toy tighter without realizing it. The woman shouted at him, "Hide it! They come for you!" Daniel didn't understand, but he obeyed. He shoved the glowing figure inside his delivery bag. The moment he did, the drones outside screeched louder, as if they had detected him. The train doors burst open, and tall armored creatures stormed inside. Their skin was metallic, their eyes like red fire. Each one carried a weapon that crackled with energy. They moved with purpose, ignoring everyone else, heading straight for Daniel. He froze, unable to believe this was real. The woman pulled him back and whispered, "You carry Emperor's light. Now you are target." The armored creatures aimed their weapons. Daniel ducked as blasts of blue energy scorched the seats. He had never been in a fight before. He was just a delivery guy, running late orders and trying to pay rent. Now alien soldiers were after him. He wanted to drop the glowing toy, but his hands wouldn't let go. It was as if the object had chosen him. He could feel warmth spreading through his arm, a strange energy flowing into him. His fear grew, but so did a strength he didn't understand. The subway car shook again. A group of humans in dark uniforms dropped from the ceiling panels. They were armed with advanced rifles, their jackets marked with glowing green symbols. One shouted, "Protect the carrier!" and opened fire on the aliens. Daniel ducked under a seat, clutching his bag. The fight was brutal. The woman shielded her child with her own body while pulling Daniel toward the emergency exit. Sparks flew as weapons clashed. The sound of war filled the train. Daniel's world of food deliveries and late shifts was gone forever. He had stepped into a war without warning. By the time the train screeched to a halt, smoke filled the cabin. The armored creatures retreated, but not before one of them pointed at Daniel and roared in a language he didn't know. Yet somehow, in his mind, he understood the words, "The Emperor has returned." His blood ran cold. The woman looked at him with awe and fear. Daniel realized that by picking up that glowing toy, he had stepped into the role of someone the galaxy had long been waiting for. He was no longer just a delivery guy. He had become a symbol of power, and enemies from beyond Earth knew it. *. The Subway doors hissed open, letting in a rush of cold night air. Smoke and sparks filled the station as frightened passengers fled. Daniel stumbled out with his bag clutched to his chest, the glowing alien toy still hidden inside. The blue-skinned woman and her child stayed close to him, guiding him through the chaos. Alarms blared overhead, and warning signs flashed across the station walls. Daniel had delivered food in this city countless times, but now the place looked like a battlefield. He could not understand why everyone was chasing him, yet he felt every eye burning into him like he was someone important. The armored creatures followed them onto the platform. Their heavy steps made the ground tremble. Daniel's pulse raced. As he ran, weaving between fleeing people, blasts of energy shot past him, shattering walls and signs. The woman shouted in broken English, "Keep moving. You must live." Daniel had no idea who she was, but her determination gave him strength. Her child clung to her, silent but wide-eyed, as if the little one already knew the danger surrounding them. Daniel pushed forward, his lungs burning, his mind screaming. To wake up from this nightmare, a group of human soldiers in black uniforms blocked their path. For a moment Daniel panicked, thinking they were enemies too. But the leader raised his hand and barked orders to cover fire. They opened fire at the armored aliens, driving them back for a moment. The leader glanced at Daniel's bag and then at his face. He shouted, "We have to get him out, he's the key." Daniel froze. He wanted to argue, to throw the bag away. But he couldn't. The toy inside glowed even brighter now, almost pulsing with his heartbeat. He realized that no matter what he did, he was bound to it. The woman grabbed his wrist and pulled him toward a service tunnel. They ran into the dark passage, the sound of battle echoing behind them. The tunnel was narrow and damp, filled with dripping pipes and old cables. The child whimpered softly, and the woman hushed them with gentle words in her alien tongue. Daniel kept glancing back, afraid the armored creatures would appear again. Every shadow felt alive. The woman stopped suddenly, pressing her hand against a wall panel. A hidden door opened, glowing faint blue. She pushed Daniel inside and followed quickly with her child. The door sealed behind them, cutting off the sound of war. Inside was a small chamber, lit by strange symbols carved into the walls. The air was thick with energy, making Daniel's skin tingle. The woman finally spoke clearly, her voice steady but urgent. "You hold Emperor's light. Long lost. Aliens hunted for power. Now you, chosen." Daniel shook his head, his voice trembling. "I'm just a delivery guy. I don't even understand what this thing is." She looked at him with eyes that glowed like stars. "It is not toy, it is command. Whoever holds it, leads." Her words sank into him like cold water. He felt dizzy, trapped in a destiny he never asked for. The child stepped closer to him, staring at the bag. The toy inside flickered as if responding. Daniel unzipped the bag slowly and pulled it out. The glowing figure floated above his palm, its eyes brightening. For a moment, silence filled the chamber. The woman bowed her head. Even the child lowered their gaze. Daniel swallowed hard. "Why me? I didn't do anything." She replied softly, "Sometimes not choice, sometimes destiny." The toy pulsed again, and Daniel felt warmth spread through his chest. It was as if the object recognized him, accepted him. He wanted to throw it away, but deep down, he couldn't. It felt alive, connected to him. Suddenly, the chamber wall shook. A loud boom echoed, and dust fell from the ceiling. The armored creatures had found them. The woman's face tightened with fear. She pressed her hand against another panel, opening a hidden passage that led upward. "We go now. Soldiers cannot hold them forever. You must escape." Daniel's legs trembled, but he followed her, climbing the narrow stairs with the child behind him. The glowing toy floated beside him as if guiding the way. Every step felt heavier, the weight of destiny, pressing harder on his shoulders. He had wanted nothing more than to finish his shift and go home. Now the entire city seemed to burn because of him. They reached a maintenance hatch and pushed it open. Cold night air hit their faces as they emerged onto the rooftops of the city. Neon lights flickered below, and drones patrolled the sky. Fires burned in the distance, and alarms echoed across the skyline. The woman pointed toward a distant tower glowing with blue light. Safe house there, if reach, maybe survive. Daniel stared at the tower, his stomach sinking. Between them and safety lay a city crawling with soldiers, drones, and enemies who wanted him dead. He wanted to give up, but when he looked at the child's frightened face and the woman's determined eyes, he knew he couldn't. For the first time in his life, Daniel realized that running food orders had never prepared him for this. But somehow, he was running the most important delivery of all, carrying hope itself. The rooftop was cold and slick under Daniel's boots. Neon lights painted the city in shades of red and blue, and smoke from burning streets rose like black towers. The woman pushed him forward, her child holding tightly to her hand. Daniel's bag bounced at his side, the glowing alien toy still pulsing from inside. Every beat of light felt like a signal calling enemies closer. He kept looking over his shoulder, expecting the armored creatures to appear at any moment. The woman's voice was sharp. "Keep moving. They hunt. Always they hunt." Daniel nodded, but fear gnawed at his chest. Drones swept across the sky, their searchlights cutting through the night. Daniel ducked behind a vent, pulling the others down with him. The hum of the machines was deafening. One beam of light passed inches away from his face. His heart hammered, and sweat dripped from his forehead. For a moment, he wished he had never picked up the toy. But when he looked at the child's wide eyes staring at him with silent trust, something inside him shifted. He clenched his fists. He wasn't a soldier, but he couldn't let them down now. He couldn't let himself be caught like prey. The woman guided him across the rooftops, leaping gaps with ease. Daniel followed clumsily, almost slipping, but the toy seemed to help him. Each time he faltered, a strange warmth spread through his body, steadying his legs. He didn't understand it, but it felt like the object wanted him alive. Down below, armored creatures poured into the streets, scanning every corner. People screamed and ran, but no one dared get close. Daniel realized the city was becoming a trap. The enemies weren't just after him, they were closing off every escape route. His stomach turned cold. This was a hunt, and he was the target. Suddenly, the sky lit up with explosions. Human fighters swooped in, their ships firing beams of energy at the drones. The night became a storm of light and sound. Daniel and the others crouched low as burning drones crashed around them. The woman pointed at the battle and shouted, "Humans fight, for you." Daniel couldn't believe it. Soldiers, pilots, strangers risking their lives for him, a delivery guy. He shook his head. This doesn't make sense. Why me? But even as he spoke, he knew the answer. It wasn't him. It was the glowing figure in his bag. And now, because it had chosen him, he could never go back. They reached another rooftop, only to find armored soldiers waiting. Their glowing red eyes locked onto Daniel instantly. The woman screamed, "Run!" but Daniel froze. The creatures raised their weapons. The child whimpered in fear. Something inside Daniel snapped. He pulled the toy from the bag. It floated above his hand, brighter than ever. The soldiers hesitated, as if the light burned them. Without thinking, Daniel raised his arm. A pulse of energy burst from the toy, slamming into the soldiers. They were thrown back like rag dolls, their weapons scattering. The rooftop cracked beneath the force. Daniel gasped, staring at his hand. He had not fired a weapon, yet something inside him had unleashed that power. He realized the toy was not just alive, it was connected to him. The woman's eyes widened. In shock and awe. You, awakening. Emperor's power flows. Daniel shook his head furiously. No, I don't want this. His voice cracked. I just deliver food, I'm nobody. But deep down, he felt the truth. The toy had chosen him, and with it came a weight he could not escape. The child stepped forward and touched his arm, their small voice soft. Not nobody, hope. The single word hit him harder than the explosions around them. He wanted to argue, but his throat closed. In that moment, Daniel realized running forever would not work. The hunt would never stop until he stood and faced it. The battle around them grew louder. Drones circled overhead, more soldiers climbing up from below. Daniel looked at the distant tower glowing blue, their supposed safe house. It felt impossibly far, like another world. He tightened his grip on the toy. His legs trembled, but his chest burned with new strength. He looked at the woman and child. We fight our way through, he said, his voice steady for the first time. The woman nodded with fierce pride. She pulled a small blade from her suit, its edge humming with alien energy. Then fight we shall. The child stayed behind her, clutching her hand but never looking away. The hunt was no longer one-sided. For the first time, the prey was ready to strike back. Daniel stepped forward, the toy's light spreading across the rooftop, casting long shadows. Drones swooped down, soldiers charged, and explosions rattled the city. The delivery guy who once worried about late orders now stood at the center of a war he never asked for. And as the battle closed in, he felt the toy's voice inside his mind for the first time. It was not words, but a feeling, strength, destiny, and a promise. He was not just hunted anymore. He was becoming something else, something the galaxy had long forgotten. The enemy wanted him dead, but they had no idea what they had awakened. Asterisk, the city burned below as Daniel, the alien woman, and her child raced across the rooftops. The glowing toy floated near his chest like a living flame, its light guiding them through the smoke-filled night. Every corner of the city seemed alive with war. Drones buzzed overhead, ships screamed through the sky, and explosions painted the horizon red. Daniel had delivered food here 1,000 times, but now he barely recognized the place. It was no longer just his city. It was the battlefield of something much bigger. He whispered under his breath, "The whole world. It's against me now." The truth tasted bitter on his tongue. They ducked into the shadow of a broken tower. The woman pressed her child against the wall and checked the streets below. Soldiers in black uniforms clashed with the armored creatures. Human tanks rolled through the streets, firing blasts of plasma. Civilians screamed, running through the chaos. But through it all, Daniel noticed something terrifying. Every side, human or alien, was searching for him. Soldiers pointed at the rooftops. Drones scanned faces in the crowd. Everyone wanted the toy he carried. He realized the woman had been right. He was no longer a nobody. He had become a target the whole world wanted to capture. Daniel's chest tightened. Why don't they just fight each other? Why is everyone after me? His voice cracked with fear. The woman's eyes glowed faintly in the dark. Because you carry command. Whoever holds it controls armies. It is power to end war or to rule all. They fear it. They want it. You cannot run forever. Her words struck him like ice. He wanted to scream that he didn't ask for this, that he didn't want to be anyone's emperor. But the glowing toy pulsed in his hands, as if reminding him it had already chosen. The child tugged at his sleeve. They follow, everywhere. Daniel looked down at the small, frightened face. He swallowed hard and nodded. Then we keep moving. They sprinted along a narrow bridge between rooftops. Drones swooped low, firing beams that scorched the stone. Daniel ducked and stumbled, but the toy reacted. A wave of energy spread out, forming a shield that blocked the fire. The woman gasped at the sight. "Emperor's gift," she whispered. Daniel clenched his jaw. "Stop calling me that." But deep inside, he felt the connection growing stronger. The toy wasn't just protecting him, it was teaching him. They slipped into a ruined building, climbing broken stairs until they reached a shattered window. From there, Daniel could see the full scale of the war. Across the horizon, massive ships hovered above the city, firing beams of energy into human defenses. In the distance, alien armies marched across bridges, their banners glowing with symbols Daniel couldn't read. The ground shook as tanks and machines clashed. And yet, in the middle of it all, screens and holograms displayed his face. Broadcasts across the city called him by names he had never heard. The chosen carrier, the Emperor's return. The light of command. Daniel's blood went cold. The world wasn't just fighting. The world was fighting for him. His knees buckled, and he sank against the wall. This is insane. I can't be who they think I am. I'm just me. The woman knelt beside him, her voice calm but firm. Destiny does not ask, destiny takes. But you can choose what kind of leader you become. Run and all die. Stand. And maybe hope survives. Her words burned into him, but Daniel shook his head. I don't even know how to fight. I don't know how to lead, I just deliver food. She looked at him with steady eyes. Then deliver hope. That is enough. Before Daniel could reply, the building shook violently. A massive armored creature crashed through the wall, its red eyes glowing like fire. It roared, raising a weapon the size of a cannon. Daniel froze, his heart pounding. The woman pulled her blade, but she was no match. The child screamed, clutching Daniel's leg. The toy in his hand pulsed brighter, filling his vision with light. Without thinking, Daniel raised it high. A wave of energy exploded outward, knocking the creature through the wall and into the street below. Dust and rubble rained around them. Daniel gasped, his arm trembling. He hadn't just defended them. He had destroyed an enemy with one strike. The power scared him as much as it amazed him. The woman stared at him with awe. You are more than carrier. You are awakening. Daniel shook his head violently, his chest heaving. No, I don't want this. His voice cracked with fear. But as he looked out at the burning city, at soldiers dying on both sides, at people running with nowhere to go, he understood something terrible. Whether he wanted it or not, the war was no longer just about humans and aliens. It was about him. And no matter how far he ran, the world itself would never stop hunting until he chose what to do with the power in his hands. The night sky split open with fire. Massive alien ships hovered above the city, their cannons glowing with deadly light. Human fighters streaked across the sky, leaving trails of smoke as they clashed with the invaders. From the rooftops, Daniel watched the battle unfold, his heart pounding. The glowing toy in his hand pulsed brighter, almost as if it was alive. The woman beside him whispered, "The war grows. Sky will burn." Daniel swallowed hard. He had never seen anything like this. He wanted to believe he was safe on the ground, but deep down he knew the fire above was also meant for him. A blast from an alien ship struck a human fighter, sending it spiraling down in flames. The explosion lit up the rooftops, shaking the ground beneath them. The child whimpered and buried their face in the woman's arms. Daniel clenched his jaw. He wanted to run, to hide, to disappear. But everywhere he looked, the city was burning. The toy pulsed again, and he felt the strange warmth spread through him. It was as if the object was whispering, reminding him he could not turn away. Not anymore. The war was pulling him higher into the very heart of the fire in the sky. The woman grabbed his arm. Safe house tower is close. But enemies closer. Daniel looked toward the glowing blue tower in the distance. Between them and that tower were waves of drones and armored creatures, crawling over rooftops and streets. Their red eyes burned like fire in the night. Daniel's chest tightened. We'll never make it through all that. The woman's eyes narrowed, with command light. Maybe. Her words made him shiver. He didn't want to believe he had that kind of power, but the toy's glow only grew stronger, answering her faith. A thunderous roar echoed across the sky. One of the massive alien ships turned its cannons directly toward their rooftop. Daniel. Frozen terror, the woman shoved him hard. Move! They sprinted across the roof as the cannon fired. A beam of burning energy slammed into the building, tearing it apart. Daniel was thrown to the ground, rubble raining around him. His ears rang, his vision blurred. The child cried out in fear. Through the haze, Daniel saw the toy float above him, glowing brighter than the fire. For the first time he didn't feel like a victim. He felt like the fire was his to control. The armored creatures swarmed closer, their weapons raised. Daniel struggled to his feet, blood on his forehead. The woman tried to shield him with her blade, but there were too many. Something inside Daniel broke free. He raised the toy high. A wave of pure light burst out, cutting through the darkness. The blast slammed into the creatures, hurling them into the streets below. Drones shattered in midair, their pieces raining down like sparks. Daniel's chest burned with energy. His arms shook, but the light obeyed him. For a moment, the sky itself bent to his will. The woman stared at him, eyes wide with awe. Emperor's fire. Long lost now returned. Daniel dropped to one knee, gasping for air. "Stop calling me that," he whispered, but his voice trembled. Deep down, he knew she wasn't wrong. The toy wasn't just a weapon. It was a crown. And somehow, it had placed itself on his head. He hated it, feared it, but he couldn't deny it anymore. The war wasn't chasing him by accident. He was becoming the center of it. And the fire in the sky was his trial. The rooftop crumbled behind them. The woman pulled Daniel to his feet. "No more time. We reach tower or die here." Daniel wiped the blood from his face and nodded. He looked at the child, still clutching her mother's hand, their eyes wide with trust. His chest tightened. He had never protected anyone before, but now 2 lives depended on him. Maybe more. He clenched the toy, and the glow spread through his arm. For the first time he didn't fight it. He let the fire fill him. He let the light become part of him. Together, they dashed across the rooftops, the tower glowing ahead like a beacon. Explosions roared around them, drones shrieked overhead. Ships clashed in the sky, their weapons shaking the earth. Daniel's legs screamed with pain, but he didn't stop. Each step felt heavier, but also stronger. The toy's glow pushed him forward. He wasn't just running anymore. He was carrying something greater, something the galaxy itself was fighting over. And as the fire in the sky burned brighter, Daniel understood the truth. The war wasn't about the city, or even the planet. It was about him, the delivery man who had picked up the wrong toy and become the key to everything. Asterisk. The tower rose before them like a glowing spear of blue light, piercing the sky. Its surface shimmered with strange symbols, pulsing with the same rhythm as the toy in Daniel's hand. The woman slowed her pace, her face pale but determined. "This place, last refuge," she whispered. Daniel's chest heaved as he tried to catch his breath. The city behind them roared with fire, drones, and warships, but the tower felt different. It was alive, waiting for him. He hated that thought, yet he could not deny it. The toy guided him forward, brighter with every step. The child pointed and said softly, "It calls you." Daniel's stomach twisted, but he kept walking. They reached the tower's great doors. As Daniel touched them, the symbols glowed and the metal slid open with a deep hum. Inside was a vast chamber filled with floating crystals, beams of light, and walls covered in alien markings. The air vibrated like music. Daniel shivered. He felt as though he had stepped into another world, one that had been waiting for him. For centuries. The woman bowed her head. "Emperor's Hall," she said quietly. Daniel shook his head in frustration. "Stop saying that. I'm not an emperor. I'm nobody." His voice echoed through the chamber, but the walls answered with light, glowing stronger as if disagreeing with him. The toy floated out of his hand and rose into the air. It expanded, changing shape, becoming a holographic figure. The projection revealed a tall, regal alien with armor made of pure light. The figure's eyes burned with the same blue glow as the toy. Daniel froze, his breath caught in his throat. The figure spoke in a voice that vibrated through his bones. "You carry my command, you carry my throne. Long have I slept, waiting for the one who would rise again." Daniel's knees weakened. "No, this is a mistake. I'm not you, I'm just Daniel." But the figure shook its head. "Blood and soul choose, you are heir, the galaxy will follow." The words thundered through him. Daniel felt sick. He had always been a nobody running food, ignored by most, forgotten by all. Now this alien voice told him he was the heir of an emperor. He clenched his fists. "I don't want this," he shouted. The woman looked at him, her face calm but filled with sorrow. "Want or not, destiny has you. If you deny, war will consume all. If you accept, maybe peace." Her child looked up at Daniel, eyes full of hope. "Please," they whispered. The sound pierced his heart. He had never been anyone's hope before. Now 2 lives begged him to choose. The chamber shook violently as the doors exploded. Armored creatures stormed inside, their leader taller than the rest. Its armor glowed crimson, and its weapon hummed with deadly energy. It pointed at Daniel and roared, "Imposter! False emperor, die!" The soldiers charged, filling the chamber. With fire, Daniel froze, torn between running and fighting. The holographic figure turned to him, its voice like thunder. "Rise or fall. Choose now." Daniel's breath hitched. He could not run anymore. Not with the woman, not with the child, not with the galaxy collapsing outside. He raised his hand, and the toy no. The command light blazed like a star. The blast that followed was unlike anything Daniel had felt before. Light burst from his body, forming a shield around the woman and her child. The enemy's fire dissolved in the glow. With a cry of desperation and courage, Daniel stepped forward. The command light answered him, sending waves of energy across the chamber. The armored creatures fell one by one, their weapons useless against the power. The leader roared and swung its massive blade, but Daniel raised his hand and the light formed a sword in his grip. Rusty, worn, yet unbreakable. He clashed with the leader, the sound shaking the chamber. Sparks and fire rained down, but Daniel did not falter. For the first time, he fought not as prey, but as the Emperor's heir. The duel ended with a final strike. Daniel's blade of light cut through the leader's armor, shattering it into pieces. The creature fell, its red eyes dimming. The rest fled in terror, their roars fading into the distance. Silence filled the chamber. Daniel stood trembling, the blade fading from his hand. He dropped to his knees, exhausted. The woman approached. Slowly, her child beside her. She bowed deeply. "It is done. You are Emperor reborn." Daniel shook his head weakly. "I don't want to rule. I don't want thrones. I just want peace." The woman's voice was soft. "Then give peace. That is true Emperor's choice." The holographic figure of the ancient Emperor stepped closer. Its light flickered, then faded into the toy once more. Daniel picked it up, holding it in his shaking hands. He looked at the woman, the child, and the burning city beyond the chamber. For the first time, he understood. It was not about power or titles. It was about choice. He could not erase the war, but he could carry the light differently. Not as a ruler, but as a protector. He rose slowly, his voice steady. "Then I will fight, not as emperor, but as Daniel." The toy pulsed once, as if agreeing. The woman smiled faintly. The child whispered, "Hero." And as the towers' light rose into the sky, Spreading across the city like a beacon, Daniel knew the unbelievable truth. He had not chosen this destiny, it had chosen him. And though the galaxy would call him emperor, he would only ever call himself one thing: human.